This is Sumbul Sang with episode 8 of the Start Anew show.
Does your work energize you? Does it make your impact on the world? Welcome to Start Anew, the show that looks beyond success into freedom, fulfillment, and your passion-driven career. Join your host, Sumbul Sang, for inspiring stories and bite-sized training to help you start anew with clarity. And now, here is Sumbul.
Hey there, starters. Thank you for tuning in to Wrap Up Wednesday. If you're looking to start a new dream, a new career, you gotta begin with self-awareness. And to help you do that, I've created a cheat sheet of 7 free self-assessment tools for career changers. And you can download it for free at letsstartanew.com. Today, I continue my conversation with Tony Woodall, and he talks about his goal achievement success system that you can use to get the goals you want. He also talks about his meditation routine and the free tool he uses for it, and much, much more. So let's get right into it. So let's shift gears a little and now talk about your podcast and tell us, how can our listeners benefit from your podcast on their journey to fulfilling their dreams?
Well, thank you very much. The Goal Getting podcast, I created that to help provide tips, strategies, and inspiration to help people get the goals they set. And I share the lessons from my goal achievement success system, which I put together from years of following motivational speakers and successful people and reading about what they do and talking with them and finding out all the things they do. And I put together my 9 steps to successful goal achievement, which are what I feel are the 9 complete steps to being able to achieve goals successfully. And then I took those and put those into a 3 key format, as I call it, for successful goal setting, using the what do I want to achieve, the how do I go about achieving that, my action plan for that, and why. The why is the key, so you've got the what, the how, and the why are the 3 keys, and you've got to understand the why, and that was where we get into, finding what you want to do. What are your passions? What are your desires? What are the things that make you happy? Why do you need to achieve that goal, or why do you want to achieve that goal? That's the key, but putting the what, the why, and the how together. And then I also teach a program called the Mental Bank Program, where we go in and retrain or reprogram, if you want to call it, the subconscious mind to be successful. Sometimes our subconscious mind, that when we're growing up, can get limiting beliefs into it, and whether they're meaning or not, or even some of our critical caretakers that we have in life can put negative thoughts in there that aren't necessarily negative, but they're not positive either, and they prevent us from achieving goals. And I actually had that problem myself for a long time, and I'm a trained hypnotherapist as well. I went through hypnotherapy training and became a certified hypnotherapist for a while and did that. But one of the big keys that I learned was the Mental Bank Program from my instructors, and it taught you how to reprogram your subconscious mind to be a goal-getting machine, as I like to call it. And one of the things I talk about in my podcast and everything is you've got to get your subconscious mind to stop playing goalie for the other team, where you're going in there and you're trying to get your goals and you're getting ready to hit that goal, and next thing you know, your subconscious mind comes up and jumps up and slaps that ball out of the way and knocks it out of the goal line, and the next thing you know, you haven't achieved your goal. So we have to change that so he works for us, and that's the keys to this Goal Getting podcast, is using the 9 steps for successful goal achievement. Everybody's heard of SMART goals, and SMART goals are good. You have those different characteristics that are important in goal setting, but there are really at least 4 other areas that need to be, covered within there. And I cover that in the 9 steps to successful goal achievement. And we help you put a systemized approach to setting your goals and then focusing on the goals that you want to do and the action plan that you need to take. One of the quotes that I've heard before that actually kind of got me propelled to starting a lot of this was a quote from Ernest Hemingway, and it was, "Never mistake motion for action." And it goes out and, told me that, you're sitting here, you're spinning your wheels, you're not doing things that you need to do. You have to focus on the steps that will achieve the goal that you want to achieve. You have to focus on the specific things that are moving you forward in your goal, not just doing stuff. Just because you're doing stuff doesn't mean you're going forward. So, that's one of the keys that we talk about in the goal achievement success system, is focusing on the action plan, finding out what you need to do to move you forward.
Tony, can I learn your 9-step program by tuning into your podcast?
Absolutely. We go through different steps. We go through, the different philosophies of those 9 steps within my podcast. And over the series of the year that I've been doing, we've talked about each of the different steps. And I'm going through, now with inspirational quotes that mean things to me, and then how that relates to the different goals or the different steps and things like that as we go through there. But yes, listening to the podcast, you will learn the different steps, and more so you'll learn the what, the why, and the how. And, those 9 steps are incorporated in each of those. And we talk about how those all relate together.
Fantastic. Tony, let's shift gears now to our final segment, which is about your success habits. I would like to start off by asking you the question that you ask on your podcast. What quote hangs on your wall?
That's a great question. I love that question. And it means a lot to me, because you learn so much about people from the quotes that they gravitate towards, or that they hang on their wall. And, I've just talked one about Ernest Hemingway, and that's one that has hung on my wall. It hangs on my wall at work. The one I have on my wall sitting right here in front of me now is one that really, really resonated with me when I heard this quote, and I still talk about it today. And it's all about passion, and it's all about finding your calling. But Mark Twain once said, "The 2 greatest days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why."
That's your purpose.
Yes,
isn't it?
Exactly. That's the purpose. And that's really my goal now, is to help people understand those 2 days and to figure out what they need to do for themselves. So.
Tell us now a bit about your morning routine.
Well, I used to be like a lot of people. I would, sleep as late as I could, get up and then dress as quick as I could and go to work. But I realized I didn't want to, especially when I wasn't happy with what I was doing. But, I've always been a morning person. But now my morning routine is I wake up at 4:00 every morning, whether I want to or not. On weekends, I try to sleep in because I usually go to bed later, and I want to at least try to get a few hours sleep. But right now, I wake up about 4 in the morning, and I started doing that because I needed the extra time to be able to do the things that I wanted to do. When I started my podcast a little over a year ago, I realized I needed to have that extra time because I do work a full-time job, and I needed to be there. And I have, my wife, and I have to spend time with her, and I have to do all these other things. So I have to have that extra time. So I started getting up at 4 a.m. and decided I needed to go to the gym and start getting in better shape. This year, one of my goals that I have is my wellness, and I have a work on wellness program, and I use the hashtag work on wellness. If you follow that, to follow my fitness routine and my workouts that I'm doing. But my morning ritual is to get up at 4 a.m. I either go to the gym as soon as I can right after that, get to the gym between 4:15, 4:30 and exercise and work out for an hour, a half hour to an hour. And then I come back home, get dressed, relax. I meditate when I'm in my shower. That's about the only time I have to do it. So while I'm showering, I try to meditate a little bit. And I also meditate on my commute into the office. I have a 45-minute train ride into the office. And I put on a program called Calm that I use, that I learned from Pat Flynn, who's a podcaster. And I started using that now to meditate. You think, well, how can you meditate on a train? But it's very relaxing. I focus out everybody. I've got noise cancellation headphones, and I sit there and I concentrate on my day and where I'm going in the day, and trying to visualize what I want it to look like and how I want it to be. So that's my morning ritual pretty much, is trying to get myself ready for the day, get up, hopefully get to the gym. That's my goal every day, is to go at least 5 times a week to the gym and do that to build my wellness and get better prepared for my day.
I'm going to check out this meditation program. Is it called Calm?
Calm, Calm. There's a free portion, which is what I use currently, but it's got great sounds that you can use. There's got 5 or 6 different ones that you can download to listen to. I use either a beach sound or a meadow sound or something like that, depending on my mood at that day. And then, you can either they've got several guided meditations to get you started, or you can do a time meditation where it's, just the sounds and you thinking on your own. And when you get to that point, but there are some great guided meditations to help you with that if you're not used to doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, I've been suffering from an overstimulated mind lately, so I think I could use some meditation program. We'll definitely give this a shot. So, Tony, is there a productivity tool that you can't live without?
Absolutely. My favorite and the best one I can recommend is Evernote. I use Evernote. I mean, I take notes at home. I'll do it on Evernote, prepare speeches. I'll prepare different thoughts. I'll prepare blogs or whatever on that in one place or another. And then the great thing is, because I have a long commute, I can then get to that also on my iPhone that I use or my iPad or on my computer. Well, I can't do it at work because we're not authorized to go into Evernote, but I can use it at work on my iPhone, and get those notes and those things that I need anywhere I want. I can also, if I'm on the web and I see something that's of interest to me that I want to read, I can also copy that to Evernote, and I have those items in my inbox and my filing cabinet that I can read later on. It's also great for categorizing your notes out there and what you want to do and how to do that so you can search for it later. So Evernote is my favorite productivity tool because I can use it just about anywhere.
So, Tony, you talked about Jeff Goins earlier and how his book inspired you. But other than him, has there been a coach or a mentor who has been instrumental in your journey?
That's a good question. One of the notes I put here is that I unfortunately didn't learn the benefit and lessons that you should have a mentor in your life until way too late. If I'd had that advice to me years ago, I'd probably be a lot happier and a lot farther along in several of the careers that I had I got a mentor in those careers. But I didn't really understand the advantage of having a mentor until recently. The greatest thing that I've found, of having and following people that, mean something to you, I think is when I joined Podcasters Paradise. John Lee Dumas is the founder of that, and he's one of the top podcasters, and I really love podcasting. And the lessons that John teaches, that if you listen to what he talks about, it is not really just about podcasting; it's about life in general. And I would say John Lee Dumas is probably one of the ones that has meant the most, or that I've learned more from.
Well, I'm a fellow podcast paradiser here, so can't agree more with you. Go Dumas!
Yeah, and I'm not just saying that to advertise John Lee Dumas, but he really talks about a lot of things that aren't really related to podcasting if you read between the lines or listen. And there's so many other people out there that I've learned from, a lot of great mentors in that community. And that's, I think, where I started realizing I need to have a mentor, and people need to have mentors in their life. So if you don't do that, and that's the thing, Napoleon Hill in his book, Think and Grow Rich, talks about that. And even though I've read Think and Grow Rich since I was 18, and over again, I just didn't really click to me at that time until recently, the importance of having a mentor, or having, even a mastermind group, or being part of a group that can help guide you and give you the inspiration and give you the advice that you need for, building a business or building your own life. So since then, I've taken several mentors and several, been in several mastermind groups to try to get that, overloaded basically these days, and take advantage of it. So if you haven't done it, make sure you get a mentor for whatever it is that you want to do. Find somebody who's a success at that and pay them, or do what you need to do to learn from them.
Great advice there. Tony, what are your 2 most important values that you live by, and how do you make them part of your routine?
Well, there's two things that I try to do every day. The first is to inspire someone every day. My goal is to provide a bit of inspiration, whether it's telling somebody that they're doing great or whatever it is, but doing something to inspire someone every day. And that may just be a smile that you give somebody, you know. I'm getting a bit emotional here. So the other thing is I try to be wonderful every day. And let me explain that. Whenever I'm walking down the hall or, you know, at work, or whenever I see somebody, they'll say, "Hey, how are you?" I always say, "I'm wonderful." And you think, well, what does that mean? Well, back when I was 18, I started my first official business besides ones I did as a kid as an Amway rep. And I met and got to hear Rich DeVos with the Amway Corporation, one of the founders, talking. And he said that one day he was at one of their conventions they had, and somebody came up and said to him, "Hey, how are you doing?" And he goes, "I don't know, what, are you just asking or do you really want to know?" And he goes, "Well, I don't know. Why?" He said, "Well, because if you're just asking, then I'm wonderful. If you really want to know, I'll tell you exactly what's going on. And, you know, you may not want to hear that." I said, "Oh, I'm just asking." He says, "Oh, I'm wonderful." And, you know, so I started that same sort of thing. Well, most people really don't care how you're doing or don't want to know necessarily how you're doing, you know, so just always say you're wonderful, and that could then prompt a discussion. So these days, you know, in my life, I say I'm wonderful every time I see somebody, but you wouldn't imagine the effect that has on people. You know, the more you do it, you know, people start looking for that answer because they, you know, I see people now, and I've, you know, been doing it since I've been working at the company I'm at, and I see people walking down the hall and they say, "How are you?" And I say, "I'm wonderful." I go, "Wow, I need to be wonderful," you know, and, you know, that's great. I never meet anybody that's wonderful. And, you know, it's just the response that you get from people. And then, you know, if you change that for whatever reason, if you forget to say you're wonderful, I'll go down, I'll say, you know, "I'm okay," or "I'm good." They'll go, "What? Something wrong? Are you okay?" And, you know, they notice that I'm saying something different, even though I may not even realize I said it. And, you know, but what they start doing is they start saying they're wonderful. You know, they walk by me and they say, "Oh, I'm wonderful," when I ask them how they're doing. And, you know, so it starts building that inspiration to them. And it's amazing how some of the people have really started thinking of differently than what they used to. And, you know, I still have some of my best friends who know me and they know better. And, you know, they'll see me and they'll ask me how I'm doing. I'll say, "I'm wonderful." And they'll go, "Okay, no, really, how are you doing?" Because they want to know how I'm doing. They know I may not be telling the truth at that point, but, you know, I try to always tell people that I'm wonderful every day, because that's what it may not be. It's what they want to hear, and they want to know, but they don't expect it. So it turns into, you know, sometimes an inspiring moment for them. I hope so.
Tony, thank you for being so genuine, for going deep and personal with us today, for inspiring us and teaching us. Please share one parting piece of guidance with our listeners. Tell us how we can connect with you online, and then we'll say goodbye.
The one piece of advice I can give is, you know, to find your passion, find your calling. I saw a sign the other day that really resonated with me. And it was, if you think about something day in and day out, every waking moment, and it makes you happy, you should be doing that. And, you know, so you can find me at goalgettingpodcast.com. I'm on the internet there at that website. You can listen to my podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, it's called Goal Getting Podcast. And I'm also on Twitter. Tony WCMB is my personal Twitter handle. And the podcast Twitter handle is @GoalsPodcast. And you can find me there. I'm usually on any of those. And you can catch me at Tony@goalgettingpodcast.com.
That's a wrap for today. If you liked what you heard, please help other people find the Start a New podcast on iTunes by rating and reviewing it. And don't forget to join me next Saturday when I talk about discovering our strengths and weaknesses. See you then.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Start a New Show. We invite you to be more than a passive listener. Be a starter. Join our community and snag exclusive freebies from Symbol and her guests at letstartanew.com. Create your vision of freedom and fulfillment right here on the Start Anew Show.